guys, it's Cece, and as promised, today I am going to be doing a review video. So today the book that I'm going to be doing a non-spoiler review of, so fear not if you haven't read this book, I'm not going to ruin it for you, is The Merciless by Danielle Vega. I read this book last month, in the month of June, and absolutely loved it, and it totally inspired me to want to talk more about it than I got to in my June wrap-up, because this book was amazing. This book is a young adult horror novel, and first I'm just going to kind of give you an overview of the plot. So in this book, a new girl, Sophia, moves into this town and ends up befriending the three most popular girls in her school. And they convince her to first be baptized, and then after they get her to this house, they tell her that this girl they used to all be friends with, they think she's possessed and that they have to do an exorcism. But Sophia is really, really freaked out because not only do they have everyone locked up in this house, also what they're doing seems more like torture than an exorcism. If that doesn't sound, if that sounds a little dark for you, that's the book. It is dark throughout. This is one of the darkest books I've read. This is one that I had to hold away from me while I was reading. The way that I've decided to describe this book, and I was wondering if the book was aware of it, and it was. It became sort of a mashup of the movie Mean Girls and the movie The Craft, and then some other movie with really brutal torture, because it got bad. I really loved this book. I think that the horror elements were written spectacularly well. I was terrified throughout this book, especially at the end. For the last few pages, I was just like, everywhere Sophia went, I was like, I can't do this. Something horrible is going to happen. But what I was curious about in the beginning was if the book was aware of how similar it was to Mean Girls. Because every single thing that happened, I was like, this is just Mean Girls. This is just Mean Girls. And then, right when it gets into the much darker stuff, there's a line about most people just using a burn book. And I was like, oh, it's a commentary. I get it. It's talking about the hive mind in a much darker way. Because in this, there is sort of a ringleader, the same way there was in Mean Girls. There's the it girl, and she has sort of these two blind followers who should know what they're doing is awful, but they're terrified of her, and so everyone just does what they're told. But it gets a lot darker than Mean Girls. This is not trying to make a person fat by eating the wrong thing or making someone's face smell like foot cream. This is torture. Brutally so. This is a really fast-paced book. You don't want to put it down. As soon as I got into it, I read like 20 pages and put it down. And then the next day I started it up again, and I read it without getting up or eating. I finished the whole book because every single thing that happens builds it up more and more and more. And you're desperately wanting to know what's going to happen to Sophia, especially because she seems to be the only one who has any kind of reservation about this. This book also has a fantastic ending. When I first read it, I wasn't totally sold. I was like, oh, I think I need to think about that for a minute. But since then, I've totally come to that way of thinking that it is a fantastic ending of a book. Truly, I was like, oh, that's perfect. But honestly, I think that it captures especially the ringleader Riley especially well as sort of that ringleader and what can happen if a bunch of people just fall in line behind one person. How far is that going to go? How far is a dedication or a fear to someone and a fear of not being popular? How far will you go for that? And how far will you go for friendship? Because two of the girls have been friends forever, so it's also about how long they've been friends. My only qualm with this book was at the very beginning. I thought all of the stuff leading up to the horror was slightly weak, but I almost think that that was a bit intentional, that it was sort of ridiculous and cliche, just so you can get to the point and the meat of this book, which is really fantastically written. Obviously, I loved this book. If you love books with dark themes and really just books that'll scare you, then this is the one for you. I absolutely love this book. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I will definitely be recommending it to other people. absolutely fantastic. One of my favorite books so far this year. So that's basically what I thought of The Merciless. I hope I've convinced you to read it. I know that a lot of people who've commented on other videos have said they really liked it or that they really wanted to read it. If you were on the fence about reading it, I hope that this clears things up for you. Fantastic book. Absolutely loved it. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought of the book down below in comments, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!